Welcome, everyone. This is the last video in the series of critical thinking, specifically with regards to the 2024 presidential election. I just want to make a couple things clear. I'm not a know-it-all, and in no way, shape, or form am I trying to be arrogant. I'm just trying to get the point across to you, my audience, that critical thinking is a life skill. I gave examples in an earlier video. And I'm just trying to help others, trying to get them to incorporate these strategies I've learned from others, and I'm just passing them on to you. I'm trying to help develop this life skill, whether it be for those who need to hear this information for the first time, or those who just need to have it refined. I think of it, critical thinking as a muscle, like a bicep that, you have to keep it going, you have to keep working it, or else you lose your strength, you lose definition, etc. So this is another muscle that you have to keep going. Ultimately, you will draw your own conclusion on the person for whom you're going to vote, whether it be Donald Trump or now Kamala Harris, who is the new candidate. Also, I just want to say one last thing before we start what lies ahead in future videos, what you can expect from me. There will be some Spanish tutorials. I taught Spanish for 25 years, so I have some tutorials for kids or adults, depends on, what level you're beginning. Have some fun doing some impressions. That's something else I'm going to do in some videos. And I have other ideas which are up here, which I've not fully implemented, but which I will do. So without further ado, let me share my screen with you. Let's get started. There we go. So in our last video, we talked about facts versus feelings. We gave a definition of fact. We gave a definition of feelings. We discussed the candidates. And as I mentioned previously, Kamala Harris is now the Democrat candidate, which I said was reported to be the case, that Joe Biden could be replaced. And we discussed some of the key issues: the economy, inflation, immigration, crime, and education. In today's video, we're going to talk about like and dislike, what really matters with liking and disliking, putting things in perspective, giving political and non-political examples. I have a suggestion for you to help organize your thoughts, what sources to use to help form your decision. And please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It gets my message out there, and it's going to be very beneficial knowledge for you and to anyone else for whom you can share this information. So like and dislike. As I mentioned, it is a bonus to be liked. It's a bonus to like a candidate in this case. But the reason I say that is because in most cases, you may not like everything from a personal standpoint. So let's try to avoid conflating, which means intermingling facts versus feelings. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So I'm sorry, I jumped ahead there. Liking and disliking people personally are factors when you want to be friends with those people, date someone, or maybe someday to marry that person. Then absolutely like and dislike comes into play. So let's talk about putting things in perspective, meaning judging something's true importance in relation to everything else. So a first scenario of that, of putting things in perspective, is let's say you or someone else needs their house painted. You have in this picture a really nice guy, great personality, who paints. His prices are reasonable, but at the end of the day, he does pretty bad work. If you look at this is the end result. Now, let's look at another scenario. Somebody who paints, who was referred to you, it's going to cost you a little bit more money than you wanted. He's not the friendliest guy, and in fact, he really doesn't have much of a sense of humor. When you tell him a good joke, this is how he reacts. But Look at this end result. Look at this room, how well painted it is, the perfection, the professionalism. Again, end result put in perspective. What's most important? The person's ability to paint a room and do a nice professional job. So politically speaking, with regards to putting things in perspective, let's talk about that. We want to vote for someone who's going to give a better life, make my life better, my family, my friends, etc., make our country function better, to make us strong domestically and internationally. Domestically meaning within the US, internationally, excuse me, outside the US. Who's going to do a better job for the USA? Non-factors, race, gender, religion, etc. I'm going to make an analogy and try to get this point across. Let's say you are going to have a major surgery and someone says, Dr. So-and-so is going to perform the surgery, and this doctor is going to perform the surgery because he's from Indonesia. And that's it. How do you feel about that? You might say, okay, he's from Indonesia. That's nice, but who's going to do the best job doing surgery on me? Who's going to get me on the road to recovery the quickest? Do you see where I'm going with this? The factors of race, gender, religion do not come into play and do not matter in a situation of surgery, or in this case, the president. So what are the issues to review? The economy, inflation, immigration, crime, education. These are not the only issues, but the ones that have come to the forefront have been talked about a lot on the news and with other people when they decide on the candidate for whom they're going to vote. My suggestion to organize your thoughts is to make a list. Make a list of 8, 10, 15, whatever number you come up with. What is important to you in deciding for whom you're going to vote? Maybe the economy is very important. Maybe it's immigration. List those things and make a list of as many as you can of things that is your ideal list that this candidate is going to tackle these issues. Now, how am I going to get my information? From what sources? Well, there are left-leaning sources and there are right-leaning. Left-leaning are sources, CNN, ABC, MSNBC are some examples of left-leaning sources, which are sources that tend to favor the Democrat agenda and their plan for the country. Right-leaning sources, the Republican agenda, they tend to favor that and what they're going to do for the country. Some examples are Newsmax, Fox, and OAN. Now, when we look at these sources, whether it be left-leaning or right-leaning, take one from each side and watch them and ask yourself the questions of what's being reported, what's not being reported. One source says this, the other source doesn't say anything about it. One source says this about topic A, this other source says this. Are they offering support for what's being said? And don't take everything at face value. That means don't take something as true without questioning it. Compare and contrast what's being said between the left-leaning side, the right-leaning side. Take notes, whether they be written or mental. And I'll just make a quick analogy. I make a lot of analogies, by the way, with weather. Let's say you have 3 networks. We'll say 2 in this case. One network says, we're going to get a massive snowstorm tomorrow, 6 inches plus, starting at 6 in the morning. It's going to go all day, cause major traffic. The other network says, we're going to get a lot of precipitation tomorrow. And that's it. So you ask yourself, wait a second, this one network is really specific. And this other network just said precipitation. Is that rain? Is that snow? Is it sleet? I don't know. So suggestions in summary. First of all, if you can look yourself in the mirror and you know in your heart of hearts, you put your research, your time, your energy, your effort into making a very educated decision, on voting for either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, that's all you can do, and you can feel good about it. Other sources of information might be independent sources. So maybe you want to do a search on Trump or Harris. Why should I vote for Donald Trump? Why should I vote for Kamala Harris? Talk to people who are apolitical. They're not interested in politics. They don't follow politics. Maybe they just have common sense. Be analytical on both sides. Maybe do a chart of comparisons. That's my last suggestion in letter C here. Maybe say, well, when Donald Trump was in office, he did this. And when Kamala Harris under Joe Biden did this. And then you compare it that way. It could be a chart. It could be positives, negatives, but you want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples and that you're looking at both sides positively and negatively. Ask others, why are you voting for this candidate? If they struggle to answer, that tells you something. Now, I want to make another, and this will be my last analogy, I believe. Let's just say, we'll say her name is Lisa, this random person named Lisa. And somebody wants to say, yeah, with Lisa on a date. And you say, well, tell me about Lisa. If that person struggles to tell you anything positive about Lisa, or they have to think really hard about it before they come up with one or two examples, that might tell you something that maybe you don't want to go on a date with Lisa. Well, that's the same point I'm making when it comes to for whom you're going to vote. If someone struggles to tell you why you should vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, that could be a factor in your decision. Let me just finish up here. Simply put, who's going to make the country better? Use your critical thinking skills. Other sources, are they well explained? Are they supported with examples before they just say X, Y, Z? Don't take everything at face value. You will not get all your boxes checked. You might have 15 things that are important to you, maybe 8 get checked, half of them, possibly less. Factors to consider are the qualifications of the candidate based on achievements, race, religion, non-factors. I made my surgery analogy previously. This is too important of a decision to be nonchalant or lazy about it. So put the time and effort in. Whoever the candidate is, this is really key. We're going to all be in the same boat, sink or swim. Before I sign off, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to the video. Most appreciated. I want to wish you the best of luck in your decision. And please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Would be very much appreciated to do that. Helps my channel to grow and gets the information out to you. Take care, everyone.